I'm going to tell you who I think the next Trump cabinet pick to fall is and why. And I think it's pretty obvious. All right, let's go through it. So, obviously, we know Matt Gaetz was Donald Trump's attorney general nominee for 8 days. 8 days between nomination and dropping out. Typically, history tells us that 2, maybe 3 cabinet picks in a president's first set of picking wind up not being confirmed. So who is number 2, potentially? To me, it's pretty obvious that it's Pete Hegseth, Trump's nominee to be Secretary of Defense. Now, Hegseth was always, I think, on the shakier end of these picks. The main reason being, to be Secretary of Defense, usually, the kind of person who is typically Secretary of Defense is like a 4-star general, a guy who spent 40, 50 years in the military, that sort of thing. Risen up in the military. That is not Pete Hegseth. So Pete Hegseth served 3 terms in the military and was decorated for his service. He has military service. But his formative experience in, I think, in what made him appealing to Donald Trump is that he's a Fox News anchor. He was the weekend anchor on Fox and Friends, their morning show. And I think he spoke out on military issues then quite frequently, but I think that's what recommended him. So it's kind of a different, at a minimum, background than what we've had before. So it was already a little bit shaky. Then we had Hegseth admitting that he had paid off a woman, basically paid for her silence. And this woman, he did that in 2020. And 3 years earlier, 2017, this woman had alleged that Hegseth had sexually assaulted her at a conference, a Republican conference in California. Hegseth said that he paid the woman off because he was worried about getting fired from Fox due to the Me Too movement, which was happening around 2020, but that he had never done anything wrong. In a subsequent police report that came out, because everything comes out, it's like a 20-something page police report, the woman alleged that she thought something had been slipped into her drink, that she remembers telling Hegseth no repeatedly, that Hegseth blocked her from leaving a hotel room they were at, and that Hegseth took her phone and wouldn't give it back to her. Now, it is important to note here, as I said before, number 1, Hegseth has denied any wrongdoing here. He said whatever happened was consensual. And number 2, the police looked into this in 2017 and didn't charge Hegseth. Okay, so again, shaky background in terms of someone who would typically be picked to be defense secretary. Allegation here and payoff, right? Okay, so you're already not in great shape. Then comes this 1-2 punch in the form of an article from the New York Times and then the New Yorker. Let's go through the New York Times one first. So the New York Times got their hands on an email that Hegseth's mom sent to him in 2018. I'm just going to quote a little bit of it. On behalf of all the women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way, I say, get some help and take an honest look at yourself. I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years, and as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. Oh, right in the gut. Now, I will note, Hegseth's mom did send the New York Times a clarification or an addendum saying she had emailed her son right after she sent that email, saying that she sent the email, quote, in anger with emotion. Yeah, no duh. Doesn't make it any less true, right? Okay, so that's Hegseth's mom on Hegseth and how he treats women. So that story is not great. Then, 48 hours later, the New Yorker, in the form of Jane Mayer, a longtime well-known investigative reporter, published this. And I'm going to read an excerpt from it. It's a little long, but stick with me. A trail of documents corroborated by the accounts of former colleagues indicates that Hegseth was forced to step down by both of the 2 nonprofit advocacy groups that he ran, Veterans for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America, in the face of serious allegations of financial mismanagement, sexual impropriety, and personal conduct. And let me just read a little bit more. A previously undisclosed whistleblower report on Hegseth's tenure as the president of Concerned Veterans from America from 2013 to 2016 describes him as being repeatedly intoxicated while acting in his official capacity, to the point of needing to be carried out of the organization's events. The report also says that Hegseth, who was married at the time, and other members of his management team sexually pursued the organization's female staffers, whom they divided into 2 groups, the party girls and the not party girls. So, add it all up here, and you see that this already shaky nomination is even shakier. I went to Kalshi, which is a political betting market. I find these political betting markets really interesting as predictive of where these things are headed because people are spending their actual money on making bets on this stuff. So Hegseth was, let me just look here quickly. Hegseth was on December 1st, 2 days ago, Hegseth was at 54% chance of being confirmed. Then the New York Times and the New Yorker's stories hit. He dropped all the way down to 27.8% on December 2nd. And as recently as this morning, he's at 35%. Now, that is the lowest odds of any nominee of Trump's being confirmed. I think Tulsi Gabbard is second with like 54 or 55%. What's Hegseth doing? So he is on the Hill, Capitol Hill, that is, meeting with Republican senators. He met with like 10 or 12 conservative Republicans last night. They came out and said, no problem. None of this bothers us. I thought the most telling one, let me see if I can find it, was from telling, quote, yeah, here it is. Cynthia Loomis, who is from Wyoming, a Republican. Now, she's going to be for Hegseth because he's Trump's pick, period. Here's what she said. Again, they're throwing disparaging remarks at someone who has earned a great deal of credibility. Are soldiers sometimes wild childs? Yeah, that can happen. So, look, the fact that these 10 or 12 senators have come out and said, yes, we're for Hegseth should not surprise you, right? There's just a group who are going to be for him no matter what because he's Trump's pick. The issue, as always, to remember is Republicans are going to control 53 seats come early 2025 when Hegseth's confirmation will be voted on. That means they can lose 3, and Hegseth can still be confirmed because J.D. Vance, as the vice president, is also the president of the Senate and can cast tie-breaking votes, and obviously he would vote to confirm Hegseth. But lose 4, and Hegseth or any other Trump nominee won't make it. I have real questions about whether Hegseth can get 50 Republicans to be for him. I think, just off the top of my head, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, Joni Ernst of Iowa, who, by the way, could be a defense secretary pick if Hegseth drops out, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, Todd Young of Indiana, Kevin Kramer of North Dakota. Those are just 6 off the top of my head that I think are going to be problematic for him to get. Doesn't mean he can't get them, but problematic for him to get. Will it push all the way to a vote if it looks like the votes aren't there? Probably not. My guess is Hegseth would drop out, return to Fox, and Trump would turn to someone like Joni Ernst, military veteran, survivor of sexual assault, who has spoken openly about it. And she would be confirmed like that in the Senate. But if you are looking for the next big fight, the next Gates, if it were, it's, I think, Pete Hegseth. I think he is in trouble. Doesn't mean he won't make it. But if you read the tea leaves of how these things play out, there's a drip, drip, drip of stories that just do not look good for him. And once momentum stalls and things turn, it's really, really hard to turn it back around. So I'd circle Hegseth. I think he's in a class of his own when it comes to not making it all the way to being confirmed as Secretary of Defense. All right, that's all I got for you today, but I do ask you, as always, to do 4 things. 1, I ask you to subscribe to this channel. I need you. I need your support. Number 2, I ask you to comment on this video because commenting helps the algorithm. Number 3, I ask you to like this video. Yes, I know I switched up the order. Like this video because it's easy. Just give it the old thumbs up. And number 4, I ask you to tell 10 of your closest friends or 10 of your acquaintances or 10 of your enemies about this channel. I'm making daily videos. I am going to do a live stream. I'm adding a live stream. I'm going to do 2 live streams a week. So a second live stream at, I think, 5 o'clock Eastern today. I'm going to go for a little while. And then obviously I do one every Friday. So tell people about it. Subscribe to the channel so that you get alerted when new videos and new live streams are scheduled. And take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow.